Hello teacher, my name is Diego Barragan Figaredo and I'm going to talk about the Cold War and some important dates, also what the Cold War term refers to, the capitalism and the socialism. Okay, let's get started. The general description about the Cold War. Okay, following the surrender of Nazi Germany in May 1945 near the close of World War II, the uneasy wartime alliance between the United States and Great Britain on the one hand and the Soviet Union on the other began to unravel. By 1948, the Soviets had installed left-wing governments in the countries of Eastern Europe that had been liberated by the Red Army. The Americans and the British feared the permanent Soviet domination of Eastern Europe and the threat of Soviet-influenced communist parties coming to power in the democracies of Western Europe. The Soviets, on the other hand, were determined to maintain control of Eastern Europe in order to safeguard against any possible renewed threat from Germany, and they were intent on spreading communism worldwide, largely for ideological reasons. The Cold War had solidified by 1948 to 1948, when U.S. aid provided under the Marshall Plan to Western Europe had brought those countries under American influence, and the Soviets had installed openly communist regimes in Eastern Europe. Now, I'm going to talk about some important dates. The first one, Berlin blockade and airlift. It was on June 26 of 1948. This was a turning point in post-World War II Europe. Second, the Korean War in June of 1950. This is where things really got heated between the Soviets and the US. And the final date, space race on October 4th of 1957. This is where the US and Soviets had an intense rivalry about space and who can get the farthest first. Soviets started with the lead with Sputnik first. However, when they kept competing, it actually brought them together and more the International Space Station. What the term Cold War refers to? Okay, it is a state of political hostility and military tension between two countries or power blocs, involving propaganda, subversion, threats, economic sanctions, and other measures short of open warfare. Now, what is capitalism? Capitalism is an economic system in which private individuals or businesses own capital goods. The production of goods and services is based on supply and demand in the general market, known as market economy, rather than through central planning, known as a planned economy or command economy. The creator was Adam Smith, who noticed that mercantilism was not a force of development and change, but a regressive system that was creating trade imbalances between nations and keeping them from advancing. His ideas for a free market opened the world to capitalism. Okay, and final, the socialism. What is it? Socialism is a populist economic and political system based on a public ownership, also known as a collective or common ownership, of the means of production. Those means include the machinery, tools, and factories used to produce goods that aim to directly satisfy human needs. The creator was Karl Marx, undoubtedly the most influential theorist of socialism, who called Owen, Fourier, and other earlier socialist thinkers utopians, and dismissed their visions as dreamy and unrealistic. For Marx, society was made up of classes. When certain classes control the means of production, they use the power to exploit the labor class. Thanks for your attention, teacher, and that's all.
What countries were the world leaders during this period? The Soviet Union and the United States. Why did the countries who were allies during the wars become enemies afterwards? Because the Soviet Union started making a communist bloc that was feared by the allies. With this bloc, the allies feared that the Soviet Union had control over the entire eastern half of Europe. Where did the Cold War take place? Over a large part of Europe, Cuba, East and West Asia, and some countries of Africa. What opinion did the general public have of the Cold War? Mostly, there was an opinion against these wars, since many countries suffer a lot. Such is the example in the countries of the Soviet Union and others in which the communist bloc was also present. But it was not all bad either, since as it was an ideological war, the predominance of technology advances is sought, of which there is a very extensive list. What types of weapons did the two world powers have at their disposal? This, they start an armamentista race, building and creating new type and more powerful nuclear bombs. Thank you.